wrestled this man yet either. His name is Kerry Von Erich, and he is truly an outstanding athlete. We're going to switch to Texas now and watch Kerry Von Erich. Remember, he's a second generation. We'll tell you about the surprise later. Let's take a look at Kerry.
Thank you, Mark. Yes, Kerry Von Erich, 260 pounds from Lake Dallas, Texas, against the 280-pounder from Houston, Larry Higgins. And whoa!
Well, as you can see here, Higgins is really not a contest. It's no contest at all because Von Erich has more experience and Higgins is a newcomer to professional wrestling.
In fact, this is his rookie season, by the way. Oh, and he's got the iron claw, right? Yes.
Yes, he's got the claw hold on him.
Got the claw, and look at him pick up that 280-pound man like it's nothing. Body slams him down, puts his foot on there. 1, 2, 3. That's it. And Kerry Von Erich never even got off his warm-up jacket.
Well, that is the fastest pin in pro wrestling, if not the fastest.
That has to be. Larry Higgins, of course, is a rookie out of Houston. And he has just taken a good old-fashioned beating at the hands of Kerry Von Erich, the one and only. I want to tell you right there.
Just like the guy with the feathers in his hair? Are you want me to wrestle him, the guy with the feathers in his hair?
Yeah.
I'll be glad to wrestle him. Are you ribbing me?
Well, no, that's not the man we have in mind right now. I might just say a couple of things about Kerry Von Erich. All-American in high school, All-American college. He's held 2 world's records in the discus throwing. He was All-American in track, football, wrestled all of his life, a second-generation wrestler. What can I tell you about Kerry Von Erich? An animal, no question about that. Moving up against Rick Harris, one fall, a 10-minute time limit. Wahoo McDaniel, legendary individual in professional wrestling.
Well, just wait a second, Mr. Sholey. I just got a little concerned here. Now you see, there's a surprise. Let me tell you, surprise. That's for Gomer Palmer. You're talking about Dick Slater. I ain't wrestling Dick Slater in the Omni no place. I ain't wrestling no place in the world. This guy's a nut. He ain't got both orders in the water, Slater. And I'm not really concerned with him. I've proven myself. I know that I am the best. Everybody else knows it. I don't have anything to prove by going against Dick Slater. I don't want to fight Dick Slater, and I ain't going to do it. And so let's just leave it at that.
Indeed. Well, that's interesting. Very interesting indeed. Rick Harris. Well, I'm sure that, we'll just have to wait to see what happens. It's Wahoo McDaniel with a side headlock on Harris. Harris driving a fist under the rib cage of Wahoo McDaniel. Catches Wahoo once again, and Wahoo McDaniel is not too slow to anger, and when he does anger, you'll tell it, because he'll suddenly explode. But he is obviously dealing very cautiously with Rick Harris. He knows full well. Whoa! Tomahawk chop into the chest and one into the throat, and it is Harris back to the canvas.
Yes, if during the Indian Wars they were all like Wahoo, the white man would have lost for sure. This fellow here isn't afraid of anything. Runs straight on, head into a freight train. He ain't afraid to tackle nobody. He's been football player. He's been everything there is to be. And the thing he's most famous for is his tomahawk chop, like he calls it. He is an actual Choctaw, Chickasaw chief, and he is a proud Indian, and he is a fighting companion Indian. Yes, not a companion of mine, mind you, because I have fought him and beat him. However, he is tough.
Tough indeed, and it is Harris trying to press some advantage here as well. McDaniel keeps Harris's head tied up in a side headlock, and notice the way McDaniel brings him over to the canvas. Harris into the ropes, however, and the referee will be forced to call a break on this one. Your referee's Scrappy McGowan.
All-American Wahoo McDaniel.
Yeah, and still holds the record at Oklahoma for the longest punt from scrimmage, I believe, in the history of collegiate football.
And he reminds me, if he hits like Tommy Rich, he's one of them hard-hitting, tough competitors. Absolutely. And I ain't wrestling further.
Indeed. And I might just mention, too, he holds collegiate records that still stand. So does Kerry Von Erich in his age division in the discus, 201.4 in college and high school, rather. and 202.6 in college, if I remember correctly. And Kerry Von Erich, just a tremendously well-rounded athlete. We saw him at the very beginning of the program. Scrappy McGowan checking once again as Wahoo McDaniel keeps his man's head overhooked. They're into the ropes. Wahoo. One into the chest, one into the midsection. And Harris has got some problems now.
Listen to that. It speaks for... Listen. Just listen. It speaks for itself. Oh, what a hard-hitting Indian man right there.
Off the rope, and a tomahawk chop across the throat, one to the top of the head. That was all she wrote for one Rick Harris. That's all she wrote. I want to get Wahoo McDaniel over here for just a moment because something occurred here last week on Georgia Championship Wrestling that in the event he missed, I would like for him to see, and I'd like all of you to see it. In the height of battle, sometimes you just don't know what could possibly happen next. And I might point out that Wahoo McDaniel, let me bring him in, if I may, for just a moment here. Welcome back to Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Well, Gordon, it's good to be back. You know, I've been out of the country for like 2 months, Japan wrestling. And this is the first match I've had since I've been back, and I must do a little road work, it looks like.
No, you're looking in great shape. And may I just say that last week, and that's specifically why I wanted you over here.
You know something, Gordon Stoley, when I first came to this area, I told everybody, you better sit up and take notice because I come looking for big game, and right here it is. I got the big game. I've done just exactly what I said I was going to do. And no sooner did I get this title than Mr. Tommy Rich, he comes out there and them big old alligator tears were rolling down his eyes. He's saying, hey, Bass, Piper psyched me out. That's the reason you won me. That's the reason you beat me won that title is because Piper had me psyched out. I want another match with you. I want a shot at you again. Let me tell you something, Rich. I'm a wrestling champion. And yes, I will give you a chance. But you better make good on it one time, Rich, because you only get one title shot, Rich. Just one.
Thank you so very much, Ron Bass, the national heavyweight champion. During this next hour, we're going to be seeing the comers. You know, this fellow, Gino Hernandez, what an outstanding... Here's a fellow who travels. He's a jet setter, travels with Farrah Fawcett, and you go down the line. He travels with the movie stars. Has voluntarily refused to appear here on Georgia Championship Wrestling.
That's right. He's taking himself off TV, Gordon. He's a fellow that has a high opinion of himself. He's got a real super ego, and I understand he laid down some conditions for Georgia Championship Wrestling. If they would meet the conditions, and I understand they're talking about it, then he will appear again on TV.
Yeah, I think it's rather interesting, and Gino felt very strongly that all of you should understand a little more his position regarding his appearance or non-appearance here on television. And so we do have some videotaped comments from Gino Hernandez at this time that I'd appreciate if you all would listen to very carefully.
Once again, I am not in the studios of Georgia Championship Wrestling. And why? Because as I've told you before, I'm sick of the mail demanding and begging me to wrestle on Georgia Championship Wrestling. Well, let me tell you people, I'm from Houston, Texas, the city of class, the fastest growing city in the United States, and a city where they believe that they want the best of everything, and more importantly, they believe in paying for it. Now you take Lee Brown, Atlanta's public safety commissioner. Where is he now? Gone from Atlanta. Why? Because Houston is willing to pay him more and has now made him the police chief. You take Alan Keeper, head of MARTA. Where's your head man of mass transit now? Gone, because in Atlanta, you had him driving in a Chevrolet and paying him minimal wages. Well, now in Houston, he's driving a Lincoln Continental and making twice as much money, which if you can read between the lines what I'm saying, you people quit sending me the mail, send it to the Georgia Championship Wrestling, because I am from Houston, the greatest city. I have class, gorgeous Gino Hernandez. If you want to see me wrestle on Georgia Championship Wrestling, I want not double, I want triple the highest paid purse ever given to any wrestler on Georgia Championship Wrestling. I deserve it because I am the greatest. And you, the people, no longer send me the mail, put the ball into someone else's court. Because what it all boils down to, when you want the greatest, when you want to see the greatest ability, the greatest body, the greatest wrestler of all time, Gorgeous Gino, where all the facts are stated, the biggest fact of all is, if you want to see me, Gorgeous Gino, you've got to pay. It's that simple.
Well, he thinks he's 3 times as good. Apparently.
Well, that's like I was saying, Gordon. He has a very high opinion of himself, and to ask Triple, the most money ever paid a wrestler, he's talking about some heavy coins. Now, anybody that calls himself gorgeous has got to have a heavy opinion of himself. I don't know about Triple the money. There's been some high prices paid on Georgia Championship Wrestling for some top talent. I don't know if Gino will meet those conditions, get them met or not.
Well, I'll tell you what, talking about that situation and people who do have a high opinion of themselves, of course, another man that you have had a lot of problems with would have to be one Gary Hart. He seems to be the head of a lot of problems.
Exactly right. He surrounded himself the last few years with Oriental martial arts experts, people that like to hurt people and hurt them permanently. Gary Hart's got his values mixed up. He doesn't know the difference between evil and good or good and evil. He just goes out there, tries to hurt people. He gets a lot out of this for some reason. He stands on the outside, and he's a director. Like you say, he's the head of everything. But there's one way to cure this problem. You control the head, and you control the body. Gary Hart is the head of all this instigation. Part of my problems. That smoke-breathing devil, Kabuki, is the body. We got to eliminate the head, and maybe I'll have a shot at the body.
Well, I'll tell you what, of course, there is the other problem, too, of course, that he and Roddy Piper have quite an allegiance going, and many times in the absence of one Gary Hart, Roddy Piper has stood in his stead. Let's take a look. Now, let's go back in time and take a look at a match with the great Kabuki, and I think, well, we'll see exactly what we're talking about in this particular instance.
Going to see right at the... When I push him back, then I might have a chance to beat Kabuki. I want to beat him bad. He's a martial arts man. You can see he's spinning, kicking, bobbing, and weaving all the time. But I'm going to tell you, all that spinning, bobbing, and weaving, one good straight thrust to your nose, brother, and that'll change your mind about a lot of things. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Fair enough. Bob Armstrong, a great, been mentioned prominently in the Worldwide Tag Team Tournament, but